Good morning. And listen, I can't even believe that you're sitting next to me because yesterday, you're the only African on the table with the Chancellor of Germany. How did that feel,
It's surreal, right?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was watching and I'm like, oh my God, she's African. And I'm like, please, I just want her to sit next to me. So maybe, which means I'm the future president of Ghana.
We're looking forward to that.
No, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I know people that are watching us definitely don't know who you are. And if you can give us a bit of introduction about yourself, what will it be?
I'll start with the professional and then I'll get to the personal. I'm Delphine Traoré, so CEO of Sanlam Allianz General Insurance in Africa. I'm from Burkina Faso. It took you a while to guess.
I'm telling you. But I was right in terms of Francophone country.
Exactly. So born in Burkina and been, had the opportunity to travel the world, especially for Allianz. So it's been exciting.
You established Allianz by yourself?
Oh no, it's a big company now.
Exactly.
140 billion euros in turnover. How am I going to establish this on my own? But I was in Canada for a while, and then I always wanted to come back to Africa. And then I said, I need to join a company that will eventually bring me back on the continent. So that's what I did. I joined 18 years ago. You were not born yet, probably.
I was born that time. And now you're back on the continent.
Yeah.
And I know that you travel a lot within Africa.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I always want to speak about is free movement of Africans within Africa, free movement of goods within Africa. Do you also face the same challenges while traveling within Africa?
There's one example. I was in South Africa for many years, and then I had to go to Morocco every 2 weeks. You know how to get from South Africa to Morocco? You have to go to Dubai. You know this. Or you have to go to Paris. And then I'm like, these are two African countries. There's a history, but it's not just these two, right? I tried to go from Côte d'Ivoire to Nairobi. There's a direct flight, but it's not at the convenient time, so then you have to go to Addis Ababa. It's difficult. So then when you talk about difficulty of moving people, you can only imagine about difficulty of trade. We talk about intra-Africa trade, but it's easier to get goods from Ghana to Germany than from Ghana
to Ivory Coast.
So it's a challenge.
How do we solve these problems within the continent?
I think we've raised our voices. There's a $10 billion infrastructure financing gap in Africa. But we've been talking about this for years. I think since the time I came back, there's a 10 million gap, but the gap is not reducing. And this is what was interesting with the Chancellor yesterday. I said, when we talk about investment in Africa, it's not aid, right? Africa is at this place where we are pivotal to the energy transition of the world, not just of Africa. So when you invest in Africa on electricity, on infrastructure, we're also helping the globe. When we invest in agriculture, it's an opportunity to diversify the supply chain of food around Africa, but also the world. So,
you sit on the board of AGRA,
yes.
Which is more of helping young farmers in general.
Yes.
And I just want you to tell me something. When you talk about agriculture in Africa, I think we always think about its farming. We don't think about value addition, right? As somebody who is into this whole agri sector within the continent, don't you think Africans need to be focus more on the value addition of our raw materials instead of always thinking about how do we export them? Because in Ghana, we export cocoa. I was in Switzerland and everyone was eating chocolate and I'm like, how many people can afford chocolate in Ghana? You don't think these are kind of conversations that we need to have in a room like this? Absolutely.
But we also need to take responsibility as Africans and push the agenda. To your point on chocolate, you have an espresso or Starbucks coffee. Yeah. You know how much a Starbucks coffee costs? And what is the kilo of coffee that is bought from our farmers? It's probably, I don't have the math here, but a cup of coffee is probably the cost of, I don't know, a kilo or two of coffee. cup of Starbucks. I come from a family of farmers. My dad is a farmer, then he ended up going into the FAO. But you're right, if we don't transform, then there's no value add. Then our farmers stay smallholder farmers. So the purpose of Agra is also how do we make sure that we industrialize farming sustainably in Africa so that the smallholder farmer becomes a business man or woman. This is the challenge that we're having.
Now, welcome to Berlin.
Yes.
We are here for Berlin Global Dialogue.
Yes.
And with this dialogue, I want to know, we have Africans in here, we have African representation in here, but don't you think we need to have more African voices within this whole dialogue that is happening? Because it's Africans that you're talking about, but Africans are not in the room.
Some of us were in the room.
Exactly.
There needs to be more of us in the room. So I'm grateful that I was invited on this platform. It was, as I said, surreal to be sitting at the table with the chancellor. And I hope that I was able to represent, at least in my humble way, the voice of Africa. But we need more of us. There was a few Africans in the room that had their voices heard as well. But what was missing is the African public sector or government in large scale. We had a few ministers here and there, but I think we were missing from the table. So we should come next year.
No, definitely. This is the first one, and I hope and believe that next year we're going to see more African leaders representing in the room. It's really a pleasure meeting you, and please give me the last blessings before you go, because I mean, sitting with the chancellor, come on. The next president of Ghana, here I come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
Same here.
Thank you.
Thank you.